G'day art adventurers, welcome back to my channel. My name is Christopher, and if you're here for the first time, welcome. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Marabu Aqua Ink Graphics ink. I received this color, the 061 Reseda, recently in an Art Snacks subscription box, and then the other day Art Snacks was offering a sale in their store, so I have purchased another 5 inks, and so I'd like to see how well they perform together, test out the inks themselves separately, mix them together, and then do an illustration. So let's go on an art adventure. So today I'm going to be testing the inks on the Rowney Aquafine 300 GSM or 140 pound cold press paper. This is 12 by 9 inches. And I would describe it as a good practice or student grade paper, and I've just taken a small sample here and drawn out a grid to test out the inks with. And I'm going to be using a Museum Emerald flat to do some swatches with. So the Marabu website says to shake vigorously before use. I'm going to start with the lemon color 020 or number 20, and I'm going to do the colors with just a flat wash first, and then on a section with that's been wetted down. Okay, so really strong yellow color, and then I'll add some water to spread it out, and I'll also grab another brush and try a very wet section. The website currently has 14 different colors available, and they're described as being naturally transparent and light fast and reworkable even after being dry. I've received, or I've purchased I should say, lemon color 20, Reseda color 61, petrol color 92, ultramarine dark color 55, dark violet color 51, and carmine red color 32. And I'll put the link to the website and all of the colors down below. And this will probably get a little bit boring, so I'm just going to do the rest of these as a speed paint, and then we'll come back and look at the finished swatches. Okay, here we have the finished swatches, really quite vibrant. I was really excited to try this petrol color ink. It seemed quite unusual, and it really is. It has a really cool variation of color to it. But I quite like all of them so far, and I'm really keen to see how well they're going to mix with each other. One thing while I remember it, the Marabu website also says that they're suitable for lettering with a dip pen, and one of the reasons why I bought them was to explore that as an option, as well as for Inktober pieces with these different colored inks. The bottles themselves I think are quite well designed, but I'm not such a fan of having to screw lids on and off all the time, and I'm not sure how well I'm going to, or how I'm going to cope with that so far, or what I'm going to do to address that. I'm nervous that I might knock the bottles over if I leave the lids off. I'm going to do that for a little bit here and see how I go. I guess a better alternative could be to have a little dropper system on the top. I might even put some of the colors out into a palette to work with them that way. That's probably going to be a lot safer. Yeah, for this first test I'm going to just put down a watery wash and see how the colors all mix together. The other issue could be, of course, if you're wanting to use a big brush. How wide is this one? It's 1.5 centimeters, which I think is getting close to 1 inch long. Sorry. So this brush is about 1.5 centimeters wide, and you could just manage to get that into the bottle if you wanted to, but it'd be a little bit awkward. So that could also be an issue if you're wanting to do large washes with them. Strong flow to the petrol color, or it could just be the paper warping a bit. In general, I found that the inks had a really good flow to them, apart from perhaps the lemon yellow, which tended to sit still. And they all mixed well together as well without becoming muddy. And now I'm finally moving on to my Inktober piece. For today, it is day 9 with the prompt word precious. I've chosen to draw a rainbow lorikeet, and these are birds that are very common along the eastern seaboard of Australia and a few other places across Australia as well, but very, very common in the Gold Coast area where I grew up. And they're remarkable birds for a number of reasons. Firstly, their colouring is just unbelievable. They really are like living rainbows that burst with all the colours of the rainbow. They also fly around in large groups a lot of the time, so you really are dazzled when a group of them will fly by. They're quite noisy little guys as well, so they're hard to miss. They're also birds that really love flowers and native flowers, so if you grow those sorts of flowers in your gardens, you're likely to get regular visits from them. And there are a few places where you can go to even feed them by hand, such as the Currumbin Wildlife Sanctuary in the Gold Coast area of Australia. You might be wondering though, how does this relate to the prompt word of the day, which is precious? Well, for me, these are representations of nature, and nature should be, I feel, the single most precious thing for all of us. And birds are something that many people, probably all people, can connect to when they think of the idea of nature. There is very few, probably no one on the planet that doesn't love the sound of a bird's call or seeing a beautiful bird fly near them. It's quite difficult to quickly put into words how beautiful and precious the natural world is, so I thought that I would turn to a quote from the wonderful Rachel Carson, who wrote Silent Spring. And she said, "The real wealth of a nation lies in the resources of the earth. Soil, water, forests, minerals, and wildlife. To utilize them for present needs while ensuring their preservation for future generations requires a delicately balanced and continuing program based on the most extensive research." The fact of the matter is that the majority of us now live in cities though, and in urban areas, and we can be disconnected from nature on most of our daily life. Well, the majority of us can. And it's a real shame. And if you also examine the rate at which so many species are going extinct and how quickly that's happened in the last 50 years alone, you would really, I think, begin to see that mankind needs to change its ways and to really shift priorities to recognizing how precious and fragile nature really is. Of course, you could probably argue that I'm quite biased, as I used to be an ecologist and I also taught biology and environmental science for many years before becoming an artist. But all of those experiences, plus the recent reports regarding climate change, would lead me to think that we ignore the fragile nature of nature at our own peril. But I think things have gotten rather deep here, and I should shift away from ecological philosophy back to the artwork, and things are slowly starting to come together here. I've found that I've had to put down quite a number of layers of the ink before I can reach a range of colours and vibrancy that I think do justice to a rainbow lorikeet, as well as create a harmony of, I guess, values and tones amongst the colours. I Suspect that that's partly to do with the paper, but I think that the inks themselves also just require a few layers before they really build up, and they're somewhat like watercolors in that regard. They're also noted to be reworkable after drying, and that's the case to a very limited degree in my experience with those inks, certainly nowhere near as much as with watercolors. I also found it quite challenging to put down an even flat wash. As you can see in the background here, I've tried to do that several times over larger areas, and it's gotten a little bit streaky on most run-throughs, and in fact I end up having to put more layers than I wanted to. To fix that, I go in the end with some gold ink to help the bird stand out again. Overall, I would say a good set of watercolor paints will have more versatility than these inks, but if you like to explore new media and you also have a bit of money to spare, I could recommend playing with these because they are a lot of fun. I know that the starter set of inks is actually quite cheap at the moment for the Marabu graphics. This is not at all sponsored, by the way. But I thought that the inks included in the starter set weren't exactly the most exciting of colors. So I splurged and spent a little more. I think they were around $3 or so a bottle each for the colors that I got. And of course one of them I received as part of an art subscription box, which is what encouraged me and led me to try out some more. And even though there's 14 colors, I'm pretty confident that these are all the colors that I'm going to need to be able to create a good range of colors. After all, the rainbow lorikeet is like a living rainbow and really pretty much covers the whole spectrum of colors on its body. I'm now switching to the gold ink. This is the Windsor and Newton gold ink, which I really love. It's so shiny and maintains its metallic luster even after drying. And I use it to highlight some of the plant features, but also to line the whole circle and the outline of the bird itself to help it to stand out from the background. And I'm really pleased with that effect. So the background ending up darker than I first anticipated ended up becoming quite a happy little accident. And so I think that's really it for this prompt word of precious for today. I know this was a longer video, so if you sat through it all, thank you so much for watching. It really means a lot to me, and I hope you don't mind that things got a little bit deep and philosophical about the precious nature of nature. If you haven't already subscribed, it would mean a lot to me if you did, and you can click the notification bell next to the subscribe button to always receive my posts when they come out. One of my favorite things about YouTube is reading the comments that people post, so I would love to hear your thoughts about this illustration and also what your favorite part of nature is. Do you have a favorite plant or animal out there? Okay, that's it for today. Bye bye.